How to make models with dyes in Meshmixer. Hi, my name is Ernest Griffin. I am a certified dental technician, registered graduate of an accredited dental laboratory technology program, and instructor over at the University of Detroit Mercy School of Dentistry, as well as a owner of Griffin Dental Laboratories. I hold a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology, and this is just one thing that we do with Meshmixer, or one thing that I do with Meshmixer. So when we do this, we create removable dyes for models. We create a solid model, we duplicate that model, and then we select preps that you may want to make for the dye, or the preps that you want to make dyes for. And then we optimize and smooth the boundaries. We separate each dye from the model, and then we select the edges, more or less like a 360-degree kind of selection around that shell. And then we select transform, and then we pull the dye downwards so that we can get more of a base on the dye itself, on the actual the prep part. Then we actually smooth and choose the maximum smoothness from the drop down menu. We plane cut it, and then we continue for each prep. So if you have multiple preps, we do this for each one. We select a center point on the bottom of the die, and then we optimize and smooth and transform by pulling that one downward as well. So in that center, we have like a little, kind of almost like a little post in a sense, that actually gets pulled down. When we are done with that, we select the model with the dyes removed, and then we select the circumference around the opening where the dyes was originally at. And then we click edit, we erase and fill and make the tissue concave by forming by moving the slider labeled bulge. And then we click accept and select both the models first and then the dyes in the object browser. And this is very important that you select that first, because when you go to Boolean difference it, which is the next step, you have to select it first so that it will Boolean difference the right part, so it takes away the dye that you've already made. I also make a copy of that dye in the object browser, so that kind of helps. And again, like it says click on the Boolean difference and expect what it outputs, and then save and export your files. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So right now I want you guys to take a look. Hopefully we can get this thing started. This is a little video that we have, and I'm sorry that this won't go any bigger on this one, but this will kind of give you a step-by-step of what I just did. So right here again, we are selecting the dye, or selecting the prep too, all the way around 360. Get it in there and get it pretty close. You can also use your lasso to lasso around each one, and that'll give you a little bit better prep net so that you can make a dye. Okay, and then after that, you go around, you clean it up. You can hit when you're hitting the select tool, you're using the left mouse click button to do it. And then if you need to take away, you hit control and then use that same right mouse click button and drag it around, and that'll take away some of those little extra areas, as if you're seeing right here. Once you're done with this, it's going to take you just a little bit, but you're going to go ahead and use your other tools in the drop down, and it'll show you here in just a second as it cleans it up. But the next one, like it said, like we were talking about initially, is that you're going to optimize and then smooth the boundaries. And once you optimize and smooth those boundaries, now you got to really look at each you got a good look at each prep. Okay, so this is what it's going through right now, cleaning up those margins again. More so on the mesial there. This is I know a lot of people probably looking at this one like, who prepped this? But what they did was they wanted to keep this shell as thin as possible, because they are going to try and restore these two teeth, and I know they're really far apart. Ideally, I would have said, let's go ahead and do ortho first. And then right there, you guys can see how it changes color. So now you actually have a face group on that particular prep. But yeah, I would have chose to do ortho on these at first. However, that's not, always what happens. So we went along with what was going on. This one is a knife edge as well, so I don't really care for knife edges because I can't really see your margins, and so I don't want to have any remakes or anything like that. I'd rather have a really nice clear margin going around 360 degrees. And you guys, if you looked at the other videos, you'll be able to see how I would prefer the models and dies to look after they're scanned. And we create the models, the scans. And then, and that's how it is. Here we're cleaning it up again, going in, using your right mouse click button and your control. And then we're just going around this as if anything else that we would do, just cleaning it up and actually creating that actual die. So like if you're using any other software, usually they just lasso it and then that's your margin, right? Well, this one is it's the same thing. It's just in a reverse pattern. You're actually selecting the entire prep up to the die as opposed to up to the margin as opposed to the margin, and then that selecting everything above it. You just don't see it. And then we're going to go ahead and smooth the boundaries, or optimize and smooth those boundaries. You'll see exactly what it does. And then it should create another face group on this one as well. So after you guys are done here, you guys can see it. It's actually pretty cool. You can select the tooth, and then you can separate that tooth from that prep from the model. And then you want to do the same thing for the opposite side. So you want to do the same separation. You'll have to go back and click on it, and you'll see me kind of go around here because I need to click on it. And you can't see off to the right just because the screen was, I had to cut the screen because I had some different information on that screen. But there you go. And then we're going to select that prep as well, and we can separate it. And if you notice, when we go to click them off, and we can go to each one, you can click the model. When the model's highlighted, that means we are messing with the actual model itself. So here we're going to take the eye off, and now you can see the dies. And when you actually scroll in, if you scroll in with your mouse, the mouse scroll, that'll make the image larger or smaller depending on which way you go. And then we make the mouse pointer a little bit smaller to get the circumference of these preps. So if you look at it, if you turn it inside out, you'll see that it's actually just a shell. But if we go ahead and we select those, and then we transform it, and then we pull that down, and then we go into smooth, and then you just hit smooth. You don't have to do the maximum smooth, even though I've done maximum smooth before, but it just seems a little bit like it's too much for no reason. So hit the smooth button, and then you can go ahead and plane cut it. Once you plane cut it, because if you look inside, like I said, it's hollow, so it looks like a shell. So you want to go in and you want to select plane cut, and then you want to bring that down to the maximum height. Usually you can turn the other model on and see it, but if you notice, it actually closes up the model. Now we do the same thing for the opposite side. So you're going to have to go into your object browser and click on that one. And then we select the margin down at the base. And it's really not the margin, it's really the circumference of it. So it's below the margin, really is where it should be. And then you drag that one just the same, and then you're going to cut it as well. You're going to select it and smooth it, and then plane cut it. And then after you've selected it and cut it, you're going to have a nice flat base on each one of those dies. So right now it's a die. It's a separate die from the model. Now what we want to do is have it so that we can put it back into the model. Now you can have separate dies, and that's okay too. Sometimes that works. It just depends on what you're doing. I was just trying to line this up so that they're at least about the same size. Now if you notice on the bottom, we want to hit the select tool. We want to increase the size of our pointer, and you want to hit it right in the middle pretty much. So let that a little bit smaller, and sometimes I like to have them a little bit bigger because it's a little bit better if you have it a little bit larger. um, and then you do the same thing for the other one. And what you're gonna do, you you're gonna do this separately. So you're gonna hit transform. Once you hit transform, you'll be able to see the little movable parts, the arrows and everything like that. Okay. And then I think I have to go do it one more time in here. I think I moved it or did something different. Okay, so you've got both of them. So I selected both. So instead of one, you can do both of them at the same time. It's a little easier. And then, so that way when you put it back into the model, you can see how long they need to be, how short they need to be, what have you. So from here, if you optimize and you smooth the boundaries on those, that'll help you to have a nice clear circle going around. And now you just pull them straight down. Now in this instance, I think I went a little extra because usually I don't do the long pegs like this. I would do more of the prep that we pulled down initially. I would do more of that and less of the small slender circles that we drag down. So, but you can use this just the same. Once you do this is where the rubber meets the road in a sense. You want to select your model. And then you want to remove those. So when we remove those, it's just selecting or clicking the eye off, and then you want to go around the wall where the prep was, and you can see that. And usually I take it and smooth it, but in some instances that doesn't work. So if it doesn't work, then go back and just go around the circle and then hit F for fill, or you can go to edit and hit edit and then fill, erase and fill, and that'll allow you to fill that area. And then you want to make it concave. So you also want to pay attention to, like, what do you have around it, any areas that could be overlapping the margin. So at this time it's probably best to go ahead and do that. Now you're going to do the same thing to the opposite side. You're going to select around the circumference of that site all the way around. Exactly. And then after that we're going to, after that we're going to again fill it, and then any little extra areas that look like it's overlapping the adjacent teeth, you want to go ahead and address those issues now, because you don't want to make those areas convex as well, or erase them filled. So you look at it from different angles. It's always good to change the angles of whatever you're working on. You're working on different planes, so rotate that model around those planes. Okay, and then you can go back in. You can smooth it out more. You can select it. And so in here we put the teeth back in, and put the preps back in. And then, and if you notice, it's kind of interesting when you do that, but you would select the model, and then you would select the preps, and then you would click Boolean difference. That is when it gives you the holes that you can access from the underneath side of the model, as well as a nice little platform base of where that's going to sit in the model. And it's a really good way of doing these models and getting the results that we want. So that is pretty much all I've got. Try it and see if this is something that you guys would like to continue to do. Now, it's take a little bit longer than most, and you'll see me go back and forth and do some extra things in this one because I wanted to try something different. But that is pretty much all there is. There's nothing else that you can't do in Meshmixer for the most part, as long as you're willing to sit there and at least try it and see how it is. It's a very invaluable tool, and I hope you guys are learning a lot from it. There's more videos to come, of course, but you guys are going to have to go along and figure it out. So enjoy, and I am glad that you came along for this journey.